the Lindsay Hunter All-Stars.
Hello and welcome. I'm your host, William Lou. This is the Hello and Welcome podcast presented by Betway. I'm joined by co-host and draft expert Alex Wong, who is trying to hide the fact that he's eating a plate of chicken wings as we speak right now. It's the only way. It's the only way to cope with the Raptors dropping to the 9th overall pick. Alex, bro, honestly, this plate of chicken wings might be, it's got to be done by the time we're done this episode, man. We actually need to commiserate at this point.
Yeah, what a waste of a season, man.
Is that what we're going with?
Just begging the Raptors to please give us some good news after a tough season and a half. You know, talking about tanking over and over again on every post-game show.
Orlando Robinson, man, number 2 option at points.
Doing the tankathon spins, you know, calculating the odds. And, man, a 9th might be like the most loserish position to be in.
Jared Roden. Okay, let's start with, for people who did not just tune in about 10 minutes ago for the NBA lottery draft reveal. We have the order of picks now cemented for that vaunted 2025 NBA draft. It goes as follows. The San Antonio Spurs at the 14th pick, the 13th pick from the Atlanta Hawks, 12th, Chicago Bulls, 11, Portland Trailblazers, 10, the Houston Rockets. This is by way of Phoenix. 9th, your Toronto Raptors actually dropped. The lowest they could have possibly been was 10th. So at least we weren't 10th. The Toronto Raptors at 9, Brooklyn Nets at 8, New Orleans Pelicans with Zion Williamson looking like a very fit security guard at number 7, bursting from that t-shirt that he was wearing. Number 6, Washington Wizards. Number 5, Utah Jazz. That meant that a number of teams had jumped into the top 4, those including the Dallas Mavericks and the Philadelphia 76ers. Sixers now avoid sending their pick to OKC in the Al Horford dump, I believe. This is back. Yo, Al Horford's back on the Celtics, like fully ready to go again, but they tank midway through the season. They pivot from their miserable year to the hardest tank we've seen down the stretch. I've gone through that whole situation where Philadelphia, I think, basically, when the Raptors played the Sixers the last time out of the 4 meetings, the Raptors, by the way, did beat the Sixers 4 times. But the last time the Raptors played the Sixers, every single member of the Sixers was signed or traded for from the trade deadline onward. So they had a brand new roster for the last portion of the season. That really helped bump their lottery odds here. But Charlotte Hornets, once again, had a chance to potentially get the number 1 pick in a generational draft. The year the Shaq was picked, they had number 2. They got Zoe, which they can't be that upset about. But, of course, they missed out on Dwight Howard. They got Emeka Okafor. They missed out on AD. They got Michael Kidd-Gilchrist. They missed out on Wemby. They got Brandon Miller. This time they were potentially in play for Cooper Flagg, but they dropped down to 4. Philadelphia at 3, San Antonio at 2, and Dallas Mavericks win the number 1 overall pick.
Nico's revenge, baby.
Brother, we need a reaction camp to Nico Harrison for this, man. Not Rolando Blackman, with all due respect.
Yeah, listen, man. I respect Rolando Blackman. I respect all the black men. But that's not the person that we're trying to hear from right after this. We need Nico.
Okay.
We also need, we know that there's a handful of reporters that are actually in the draft lottery room, right?
Yes.
Because I think right now the conversation, and people love to talk about this when the draft lottery happens, is, oh man, this is rigged. You know, they folded that envelope to get the Knicks Patrick Ewing. Like, how did LeBron end up going to Cleveland when he's from Akron?
Well, Derrick Rose, I think the last time we had So the Mavs had a 1.8% chance at the number 1 overall pick. Because they were also in the actual NBA play-in tournament. Of course, they lost that ultimately. So that's how they landed in the lottery itself. They had a 1.8% chance at that pick. This reminds me of when Derrick Rose was in the draft, and I think the Chicago Bulls had a similar 2% chance at winning the number 1 pick. And, of course, the Bulls were able to jump up to number 1 and get Derrick Rose. So I'm not saying the NBA lottery is rigged, but if you were to make the most rigged outcome possible, this is how you would actually make this exact outcome.
I would say San Antonio maybe would be the most rigged. I mean, Spurs got up to number 2, so I think there's a lot of interesting conversations there about drafting, or I'm sure we're going to talk about Giannis as well, potentially going somewhere. But man, 1.8% chance to get up there.
Yeah.
So now they're going to draft Cooper Flagg and try to take advantage of this Anthony Davis, Kyrie Irving championship window.
Bro, but that team's actually kind of nice.
Listen.
That team's actually kind of nice.
Listen. If Nico goes for coffee with Rob Pelinka next week, and Nico's like, yo, first overall pick, give me Luka back. yo. But serious though.
I wasn't prepared for that.
No, serious though.
I was not prepared for that.
Hey,
Wow.
like Mavs have built a team around Luka.
Yes.
Probably some regret there, even though Nico won't admit it. But we get Luka back. LeBron's retiring soon.
Man.
Luka's defense in the playoffs, Nico might have been right, might have been a little bit right. Lakers get to get the megastar Cooper Flagg to start the next chapter. Who says no? Luka for the number 1 pick.
Well, I mean, the way Nico Harrison moving, I feel like you probably get Rui Hachimura for the number 1 pick, actually. I think you get Maxi Kleber back, number 42, back in Dallas.
So we're established, like, there's no chance Dallas is going to trade this pick.
Man,
they're going to take Flagg.
Dude, this is the ultimate lifeline.
Yeah,
now
this
they're
is
competitive for next season, and they have their franchise player moving forward. Like, you would actually argue Dallas, after all this that has happened, they're actually in arguably a better position long-term, as compared to last year at this time when they were contending to go to the finals.
Which is an insane thing to say.
But it's true.
It's an insane thing to say.
If you were going to rescue any franchise in the league, you would have to rescue Dallas, who have protests.
But why do you have to rescue Dallas? Dallas is not even a big... My thing now with Dallas is they should trade AD.
Yeah.
You got to go young now. I think you should just build around Cooper Flagg, reset the timeline.
No, the funny thing is they can make 2 playoff runs with their team as is, and still just be okay for the future because they can pivot off of all those guys eventually with Cooper in mind. But of course, look, we'll have plenty of time to talk about that. Obviously, this is the Hello and Welcome podcast. Is a Toronto Raptors centric show.
Yeah, how do you feel? How do you feel after all these months of talking, looking at different positions, different players? Raptors end up in 9th. Do you look at the season that happened any differently?
Brother, look, I think it's really funny because I think a lot of the reaction was the Raptors didn't tank hard enough. That was the central debate all season was, okay, yes, the Raptors are winning, but should they not be losing these games instead and trying to pivot your way into the lottery? One of the arguments against tanking is because the lottery odds have been flattened so much that there is this increased chance of these other teams jumping in. We've seen now back-to-back drafts where the Atlanta Hawks last year get the number 1 overall pick. What people don't care that much because it was Zachary Brissager and there was not a consensus number 1. But that's a team that was in the play-in that ultimately then also gets to win the number 1 pick. This year, the repeat of the same thing. Dallas goes to the play-in tournament. Obviously, they go through all the crap that they went through all season, and they still walk out of it with the number 1 overall pick. And you see a number of tanking teams. If we actually if you just put back up the draft board of where the picks ultimately landed up, I would argue that which tanking team outside of Philadelphia is actually that satisfied with the outcome of the draft?
Yeah,
maybe San Antonio?
Because Charlotte falls to 4th.
Right,
Utah,
which they really needed more than 4. No, with all due respect, this is not another team that needs another Ace Bailey. They have a team full of Ace Baileys, basically.
Utah was tanking the whole season.
They
fall to 5th.
Yeah.
Wizards had the best odds too, right?
Wizards
they were in the top 3.
Yes, they were in the top 3.
And they fall to 6. Pelicans, we know, had a lot of injuries and ended up falling to 7. We know Brooklyn was tanking pretty hard as well.
Right, yeah.
The Dallas and San Antonio ended up getting rewarded up top. So
right. So I do think that part of the argument against tanking and the part of the reason, this is the main reason the NBA flattened the lottery odds is that they wanted to take some of the incentive off of it because now you have less of a chance to guarantee your spots because it's more random across the board. You know what I mean? And this is where I think a lot of the debates and the frustration, you can be frustrated all you want. The reality is the Raptors really only had a 32% chance of jumping into the top 4 and only a 7.5% chance of jumping into the top 1. And even if the Raptors did everything possible and was one of the top 3 worst teams in the league, we just saw Utah and we just saw Washington drop out of that whole mix altogether. Yeah. In Charlotte as well. So it's this is if you're going to be mad at anything, be mad at the percentages, because if you really thought about it, the Raptors' most likely outcome going into the draft was actually coming out with 8th, and now we dropped really to 9th from the 7th position. Having said all that, though, I can totally understand why people are upset, because when you put so much of the season into tanking, into the idea that nothing matters on the court, nothing matters in terms of like the progress of the players, when you put it all into, are you losing games and are you able to then give a higher percentage to yourself on tankathon.com and go to sleep warm at night looking at odds, which is a little sad, but it's the reality for a lot of people in this fan base. When you wake up to this exact result in the morning, you are going to be very pissed, because you've decided nothing else matters except this pick, and all of a sudden we're walking out with 9th. And honestly, 9th is not a great pick. Like 9th, honestly, like there are lots of players where in that range that you would like to control. I think there's even a tangible difference between like even 7th or 9th, because if you look at the draft experts right now, you're saying that like maybe there's a consensus top 3 between Cooper and then of course Dylan Harper, and then if you want to put Ace Bailey at number 3, you might even say a consensus 4 if you want to put Vijay Edgecombe in there. But a lot of people are saying that, like, basically between, like, let's say 4 and 10, it's even. The issue is, if the Raptors see somebody that's really more valuable, 9th is, like, towards the lower end of that. Somebody that the Raptors may like a lot might get overdrafted by another team, and the Raptors might have to settle for their second best option, even though the Raptors didn't ultimately go into the top 4. So I can totally understand why there's a lot of frustration. You know what I mean? Like, this is what happens. When you put all your eggs into the tanking basket, you really need luck to go on your side rather than determining your own outcomes, which honestly is the point of sports. Like, you know what I mean? Like, the whole point of sports is you compete and try to do your best job possible. And ultimately, the Raptors didn't come out of it. When I ask you right now, do you think the Raptors should have tanked harder? Is this a missed opportunity?
Yeah, for sure. I think towards the end of the season,
okay,
especially when their schedule was getting easier,
okay,
I think you saw what Philly was doing. You saw what Brooklyn was doing. You saw what all the teams were doing. I just felt like there were ways, and it did feel like if you were pro tanking towards the end of the season, the Raptors were like 1 foot in and 1 foot out, right? Playing some starters here, maybe sometimes benching them in the 4th, sometimes not.
We were playing games. Let's be real.
Yeah,
we were playing games, man.
And didn't seem like there was an all-in plan coming from them.
Sure.
And that's the whole point of this whole season, right?
Okay.
Like, you were trying to get the most lottery odds. And I think,
what's
the pushback, though? What's the pushback against tanking that they should have tanked more?
If I flipped it to you, I don't think any team in the NBA did more to tank this year than the Utah Jazz.
Sure.
Utah,
sure. But you still after all of this want to put yourself in the best position. Because it's easy in retrospect to say now that like a lot of these tanking teams didn't work out.
Yeah.
But it's still, you weren't putting your best foot forward by not trying to get that like 14% chance to get that first overall pick. Right?
I hear you. You. I think that if you did everything possible, like the Utah Jazz, for example, you still walk out with the 5th pick.
My thing too is
imagine how pissed a Jazz fan would be right now.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be pretty happy with the 5th pick right now.
Really?
Yeah. Versus 9.
Yo, who you like at 5?
I don't know, man. I heard. Yo, where's Derek Queen at?
Yo, eat some wings, man.
But the thing for me is like, if you look at it from the other side, it's like, who were the players that were developed, in spite, like, because they were putting players in to not tank. Like, you're looking at guys like, okay, AJ Lawson, like, made a little bit of a leap, right? Okay. Like, were those developments worth it?
Wow, okay.
In exchange for like actually just going all out and losing the games, because I wouldn't
jump to AJ as
no,
but
example.
People, with all due respect to
but
AJ,
people aren't coming out of this season being like, oh, we actually use that second half of the season wisely and learned a lot about our team. They didn't, though, right?
Okay, the counterpoint I would say is the team as a whole really learned how to play defense at a competent level. I would even argue at a really high level. I think that's probably, in a team-wide basis, that's the number one thing that they did well. I think that there were things that Scotty was able to, use and show. Unfortunately, a lot of that wasn't really on the offensive end. Really, we took away more from what does Scotty need to do better on offense versus what does Scotty need to do better on defense. But ultimately, like, there was at least that developmental window afforded to Scotty. We can't be upset that, like, okay, he didn't necessarily show us that he's like prime Giannis or prime LeBron with that window, but at least you gave him the chance. You can't take back that chance. I think you gave an opportunity for a lot of rookies to play a lot of minutes that, quite frankly, they weren't planning to play to start the season. And so there were developments in that time. I think the real issue for me is just like the lottery is as random as it gets. Like, how many times did we, end shows from the end of the season until now where we would always go and do a little mock spin? You know what I mean? And how many times do the Raptors get a number 1 pick? Not even once,
Well,
right? We got a lot of 2s, we got some 4s, but realistically, the odds are the odds, man.
Well, I think the one good thing is that the Raptors don't plan on doing this tanking thing next season. So this is really the end of the conversation. Because I think I'd be surprised if they were in this position again.
Do you think there would be appetite for another one?
No, and I think by trading for Brandon Ingram, I think there's going to be a desire to win games next year. So we can argue, and I'm sure people are taking sides in terms of how we feel about how this season went.
Yeah,
I personally think they should have tanked harder. You should have gone all in on that, but it doesn't matter now because they're changing course, right? This is not something that they're doing for a couple more years now.
Yeah. Maybe. Honestly, and this is not the time to say this, but a lot of people are looking at the 2026 NBA draft, and they're like, that's really good.
Oh, my God.
You got to be a real sickle to want to play
this game. Is there any trade value to this 9th pick?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think so. I think that you're
not because this was the other conversation of listen, we can have our pipe dream about Giannis, but maybe there was other star players potentially out there that might be available.
There should be a lot of star players flipping this offseason.
Yeah, so it was if the Raptors even stayed at 7th, if the Raptors moved up to 4th, or something like that, it was okay, maybe you look at it as a trade chip now, right? As part of a trade package, and that's the part too where I kind of wonder now that you dropped to 9th, what is the value of the 9th overall pick, right?
This is it's the 9th pick, man. It's the beauty is the eye is in
we
the,
the 9th,
baby. Let me read you guys a recent history of 9th overall picks, okay?
Yeah, these are the Lindsey Hunter All-Stars.
Zach Edey was picked 9th overall in 2024.
Cute.
The year before that, Taylor Hendricks.
Okay.
Actually,
did he not?
These are a little bit of Lindsey Hunter
Is this the guy who coached the Grizzlies?
Taylor Hendricks. No, that's Tuomas Isalo.
Oh, right.
Who is now made permanent head coach now.
Yeah.
Jeremy Sohan, 2022 was the 9th overall pick.
Jeremy Zhang better. Yeah.
Davion Mitchell, who we just had on the Raptors.
Donovan Mitchell better. Yeah.
D. Mitchell. Arguably right now, I feel like Davion Mitchell maybe improved his stock more than anybody named D. Mitchell in this year's 2024 playoffs, 2025 playoffs. Denny Avdia, who
he's turned into a good player.
Not for Washington, though, because Washington traded him. But he was a 9th pick for Washington in 2020.
Okay.
2019, Rui Hachimura.
Ooh, namaste. Yeah.
Namaste, my brother. You did not really work out for the Washington Wizards. That's why they traded him to the LA Lakers. Kevin Knox.
Oh, part of the Warriors' 14-man rotation right now.
Surprisingly plays a decent amount of minutes for the Warriors. I'm not going to lie to you. Kevin Knox, the second, was the 2018 pick. By the way, this year, I think Shea was 11th.
Okay.
And they were teammates on Kentucky. So Shea wasn't even the highest picked player on his own Kentucky team.
Wow.
Technically, the Raptors could have taken Shea in this position. Dennis Smith Jr., the year before that, that was with the Dallas Mavericks. Jakob Poeltl, 2016 with the Raptors. This is when the Raptors flipped Andre Bargnani to the Knicks for a future first-round pick that eventually became, a couple years later, Jakob Poeltl, who we're all pretty happy with. Frank Kaminsky, Noah Vonleh, Trey Burke, Andre Drummond, Kemba Walker, Gordon Hayward, DeMar DeRozan. The Raptors, actually, the last time the Raptors, I guess, had the 9th pick of their own volition was 2009. They got DeMar DeRozan out of that, which would be pretty good outcome based on where they are right now. DJ Augustine, Joakim Noah, Patrick O'Brien, and Ike.
let's end it at Ike Diagu, man. Okay,
so that's my favorite Ike, man.
So based on that sample size, best case scenario, probably getting like a serviceable starter.
If you're getting a starter from the 9th pick, you're doing pretty well.
Right.
If you're doing and based on the list of the last 20 9th overall picks, there's how many All-Stars here? I think Joakim made an All-Star team.
Kemba
DeMar
maybe? Yeah.
made an All-Star team. Kemba was definitely an All-Star. Andre Drummond was an All-Star.
Right.
And then past that, that's it. So
but
that's 3 out of 20.
It's obviously very, very hit or miss.
Right. There's a lot of starters on this list. Again, the average maybe like a Jakob.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure you're gonna get into who might potentially be there.
Oh, you don't want to give your thoughts
at 9 and things like that.
Producer Drum saying Tracy McGrady was also 9th. So maybe the Raptors have a good history of 9th overall picks. Because I think we all like Jakob, we all like DeMar, we all like Tracy.
Yeah.
But we're gonna need one of those sort of polls in that sort of
To
position.
me, this is kind of like a Grady Dick range, right? Because Grady went like what 13th.
Grady was 13th.
Yeah.
Yes.
So to me, it's like you're drafting in that range where the top guys are off the board now, and it's listen, the Raptors have been hyping up their own scouting department, drafting and stuff like that. So this
we are objectively pretty good at scouting.
But this is where you got to make your money. Of like, are you gonna get a guy in 9th where someone's gonna look back in 5 years and be like, oh wow, like I can't believe we got the best player between like 9 and 15. Because we've seen like what is it like the Devin Bookers and like all these guys, and no one's
no. I'm not saying you can't find talent outside.
Right.
That's absolutely not the case. Because we see a lot of players, even in this year's draft, like Donovan Mitchell, for example. It's like, well, not a good time to mention this while the Cavs are down 40, but
no, D. Mitch been dropping 40 a game while losing by 40.
Actually, for the real reaction, we did have producer Jerome was thinking on his feet right now because. When the actual pick was announced, we were not live yet, but Jerome did have the cameras already set up, so we can actually play you our live reaction to when the Raptors ultimately got the 9th pick for our true feelings on how we feel about the Raptors getting to 9th. Let's just play that clip real quick. Number one. All right, number one. Let's go. Not us. No!
Not like us.
No, look at the side.
No, show's over, man.
Oh man!
Yo, I haven't been this upset since betting on the Cavs money line last night.
No way! What's the cash out option for that? Do you even get 10 cents? Do you get 10 cents back?
Came home for Mother's Day dinner and I was like, ESPN really saying it's 80-39 at the half right now?
Yo, I feel like there hasn't been one good ESPN game. I feel like TNT games kind of bangers. ESPN games are always like a bit of a break, man. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Oh my god! Yeah, but that was our reaction. I mean, I think we were both. Well, you were telling me, you were explaining the rules to me. You're like, if they don't show up at 7, right, then we're looking good.
We're in the clear. If by the 7th pick, we're not already there.
Yeah. So we get to 9, and I'm like, man, we just got to get through a couple more envelopes, and we're looking good. And damn,
man,
when that Raptor clock came out.
Yo, I haven't been
like a ton of bricks.
I haven't been this upset at a red envelope since I was 9 years old, and I got a 20 from my parents. I hate Mark
Tatum more than Jason Tatum, man.
yo, honestly, ban all Tatums, man. No. By the way, Masai. So Masai was the Raptors representative. The Raptors were being all mysterious. You know, that no one had known who the Raptors are going to take to the draft. So it was actually the funny thing with the draft itself is. So the way it works is there's like a room where the draw is happening and nobody's allowed to have their phones or any sort of communication inside of this sealed room. Yeah. So it's just like a whole bunch of like accountants in there.
Yeah, Ernst & Young from Ernst & Young.
Ernst & Young is literally in the building. Yeah. Both here at Hong Shing and also in Chicago for the draft combine itself. You have a list of reporters and stuff like that. I believe actually Doug Smith might have been in that room.
Yeah, Doug Smith was in the room. Friend of the program, Sean Hyken and Ben Golliver were amongst the other ones in there as well.
There you go. So like you actually have some reporters in there. You have some GMs. Raptors general manager Bobby Webster was in that room.
Oh.
So, and that draw, I believe, takes place about half an hour to an hour before it was actually televised.
Yeah, I believe they televise at 6. They televise at 7 p.m.
Yes.
The draw happens at 6 p.m.
So the funniest thing is Bobby just having to sit in dread for an hour until they unlock him. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to laugh. I'm sorry, Bobby. You know we love you, buddy. But like, holy!
Of all the things,
being locked in there with Doug Smith and Ben Golliver and the 9th pick is so funny to me, man.
Of all the things to cover in basketball, I would love to be in that draft lottery room. I think it's kind of fun, man.
You really want to be?
Yeah, because like
they probably serve food and stuff.
Yeah, also, but like you're. Oh yeah, that's important. But it's like you get to have information before anyone else, and I think that's kind of cool. Even though you can't share that.
Yeah, but it's physically impossible.
Yeah,
to share
just to be in there to see the process and how things work.
Oh wow, okay.
Yeah.
We're actually gonna be served the wing. Okay, this is
we're live from Hong Shing, by the way.
Oh man,
they also
There's
run.
No place I'd rather be to cope.
They also
with this,
run
man.
Yang Dining Room, which was on the Toronto Life best new restaurants in Toronto.
Yo, number 2 behind General Public, which honestly I've been to General Public, man. Honestly, Hong Shing. Number 1, dog. In my heart, man.
Ennis loves General Public. Yeah.
Oh well, you know he's up that. Well, I mean
just
whatever, man.
Just don't say
Ennis
anything.
is also trying to learn how to speak.
Thank you, Jerome. I had too much
role.
food at Dragon Pearl last night, so
that's not one of the top 50 restaurants. Just kidding, actually. Dragon Pro is really fun. Really,
All right, what's
really
good,
quality.
man? How's chat? Chat is down bad.
Chat is pretty down bad. Actually,
Yeah,
one
sorry,
thing
chat.
I want to show people too is not only the reaction to the Raptors falling to 9th, but we also have a clip of the Raptors finding out, I guess the two of us finding out that the Dallas Mavericks were indeed the pick for number 1 overall. Let's actually show that clip too. Oh! Yo, no, this shit is rigged. This shit is rigged. There's no way, man.
Oh, by the way, shouts to JR Manatad. Just gave us donated $6.99 and says soju shots on me. Yeah, so
Wow. JR, this will be the first time you paid.
thank you, JR.
Just kidding, man. Let's
Yeah, if you
man. Can't let
ever
the producer pay. Come on,
if you're ever in Pickering, just look for JR. Yeah.
just look for him is crazy, man. What are they looking for? Just a guy with a really cool car.
All right, what's up?
JR.
What else are we talking about here?
Okay, putting aside our feelings, because I think rationally we can just come down from that a little bit and just think about who the Raptors could potentially take at the 9th overall pick. Alex, I know you're not a big draft expert.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah,
but at the same time, are there some players that you've seen in this process? I know we'll bring in Libaan Osman shortly.
Yeah.
He's actually live at the NBA lottery itself, so we'll get his live reaction too, and of course we'll get his thoughts on who the Raptors should pick. But is there any names that stood out? Have you seen any highlight reels on Twitter.com? Anything?
I can't say I'm bringing you any information
Just
here, man.
Name me 2 prospects, not named Cooper Flagg.
Derek Queen.
Yeah.
The chess piece.
The chess piece.
I love a guy who can run up and down the floor.
Okay.
Not sure if he can guard 3s and 4s.
I don't know about 3s. I mean, even 4s might be a little.
Yeah, that's. But I love a big who can shoot. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, he's mostly like a driver. He's
Okay.
a
Yeah.
Zach
Definitely
Randolph
was not
finisher.
listening to your Raptors Republic show properly. And I think that's about it, man. Haven't really done my homework on this yet.
Yeah, this is. I just want to flip it on you.
Thank
man.
God, man.
I'm sorry. Okay, so
Jeremiah Fierce.
honestly, part of the issue is if the Raptors stayed at 7th, which I guess is the best possible outcome if they don't drop into the top 4. Like, there's a couple of guys that I think I do like, and I do ultimately think that at least one of these guys will be available. Because I think the way I had was sort of like who are the best potential bigs to have at the 9th pick, or the best potential guards to have in the 9th pick, and the best potential wings to have at the 9th pick. If you were just talking about a position, but I know everyone says we're going to draft best player available,
Right.
but when you get the 9th pick, do you consider a little bit more in terms of like we should draft by position?
I still think,
Like, you know what I mean? Like, we should take another shooting guard at 9.
I don't know.
We have like 4 other shooting guards.
But based on the Raptors roster, I feel like you still take the best player available and just figure it out after.
Okay, but
Yeah.
but what if it's another shooting guard? Like, what if it's like Trey Johnson drops in? Trey Johnson's like 6'5",
Let's do it.
6'10" wingspan, like a really prolific shooter. Doesn't really get to the rim all that
Then
much.
maybe some of the other shooting guards on your team become redundant and become trade pieces, I want the Raptors to be dynamic this offseason. Let's get in the trade market.
Okay, I
Let's
was
make
gonna say
some
the other
moves.
question I would ask is, would you
make some
actually
moves.
put this number 9 pick into play?
Definitely.
For trades?
Definitely. I think, but it depends on what's available, though. Because I was thinking, like, if you get into the top 4,
Yeah.
maybe that opens up the Giannis conversations.
Well, that's what was interesting with the Spurs getting number 2 overall pick is like,
Yeah,
you
if you're-
could easily flip that for Giannis.
If you're
as a
the
headline.
Spurs and you have an option,
well, not easily, but that
Yeah,
could
yeah.
be part of your big
let's
package.
say door A, you draft Cooper Flagg and you
Yes.
hope it's Flagg and Wemby for the next 20 years.
Okay, but obviously that's they're
Yeah, or you
second pick.
yeah.
Like,
Or
you mean like Dylan Harper?
Yeah,
or
you
something.
draft Dylan Harper, okay. Door B, you trade Castle and that pick and get Giannis. Probably more pieces, obviously, to go.
I'm taking door B easily.
You're taking Giannis.
Yeah,
You
for
don't
sure.
want to bet on another young player. That's not Flagg.
Giannis and Wemby
Yeah.
is an incredible combination. That might be the most athletic combination.
Yeah. So if
like,
you're the
ever.
Spurs, you do that deal, no questions.
No questions.
Yeah. Okay.
no questions.
So
mean,
I think Giannis might end up in San Antonio.
no, like this is actually
Yeah.
the best possible draft for
Yeah.
Dallas to maintain solvent as a franchise by winning the number 1
Sure,
overall pick,
sure.
and calming down the mobs.
Yeah.
And then number 2, you've now handed Wemby a chance to get Giannis, like realistically,
Yeah.
Giannis. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like, of course, like Stephon Castle winning Rookie of the Year already helped.
Yeah.
But we all know it was a weak rookie
Yeah.
class. Like, this is not like exactly the strongest Rookie of the Year. You know what I mean? It's not exactly like Wemby, for example, winning
Sure.
Rookie of the Year. You take that and you take number 1, 2
Yeah.
overall pick. Like, that could be a really realistic outcome. And I think it depends too, because we'll talk about Giannis in a second, because we really want to focus on the 9th pick, and we will bring in Libaan for more reaction. But
Please.
the thing with the the number 2 overall pick is like it's most likely gonna be Dylan Harper. They just traded for De'Aaron Fox though, who's another downhill slasher driver.
Right. But I feel like you were, no, I get what you're saying.
Honestly, I would much rather just take Giannis.
So you're saying
By the way, the West would be crazy.
You're saying let's make the moves and just Giannis, Fox, Wemby, and we'll figure the rest of it out.
Yeah, that sounds great.
Yeah.
Man.
I feel like OKC, incredible performance from the Thunder yesterday. Congrats.
Oh, yeah, sure.
On evening that series 2-2.
Real gritty.
I feel like the Thunder might have to get into these conversations too, man.
Yeah.
For a Giannis, I'm still not putting past them for maybe making a move for KD. It's a little less costly.
KD, yeah, I mean,
it's going to be...
I guess they wanted Philadelphia's pick in this year's draft.
Yeah.
And ultimately, Philly ends up tanking their way into getting third.
Man,
or
if
just
you're
lucking their way.
If you're Philly, too, so like say...
Philly's a huge winner in this
draft. Say you
by
take
the way.
like what, Ace Bailey, VJ Edgecombe, whoever at 3.
But I mean, if
you have Jared McCain now, right? You have Maxey.
Yeah.
Do you think you're like, oh, we're still going to try to go win? Or, man, they could zag and be like, yo, what's the market for Embiid, yo?
Man. Ooh.
What's the market for PG?
Ooh.
Like, I know we talked about them as 2 of the worst contracts.
Yeah.
But you can't tell...
Somebody's going to look at
You
Embiid
can't
and be
tell
like,
me
I need
there's
that.
not a desperate team out there.
For sure.
That will be like, okay, like the Knicks. Maybe the Knicks would look at this after the playoff run and be like, let's take a chance on Embiid.
Yo, honestly,
right?
I know this kind of sucks for the Raps because we didn't jump up, but like, man, this is actually kind of good for the league. Like, all these outcomes I'm intrigued by. Giannis going to, this might be one of the craziest.
Dallas getting the first pick is good for the league.
No. I mean, the first pick is whatever. Honestly, like in terms of who needed him the most, I think Dallas actually did need him the most. But like, if you're telling me Giannis getting moved in the offseason, which might trigger Embiid getting moved in the offseason.
Yep.
By the way, the best player in the Eastern Conference would then be what? Jalen Brunson?
Oh my God.
Like would it be Jason Tatum?
Yeah,
I guess we're anti-Tatum on this show.
It would have to be Tatum. It would have to be Tatum, though. Yeah. It would have to be Tatum. Yeah.
You got like the top 7 players in the NBA, all playing in the West.
I'm just saying,
we
like
got Tatum and Brunson battling it out for East supremacy.
I'm just saying, like
with Halliburton on the side.
The Cavs are crashing out right now too.
Yeah.
In the playoffs, like, are they at a crossroads where they're like, yo, are we putting Garland? Shouts to Asian Heritage Month. Are we putting?
No, you're not doing justice.
Are we putting Evan Mobley or Jared Allen out there? Break up the 2 bigs.
Hey, by the way, not the defensive player of the year having to play in a 3-2 zone and still getting cooked by 40. I mean, I don't know what that happened to the defensive player of the year. Having to play zone when you're the DPOY, that's nasty, dog. That's nasty.
I do think whoever is getting bounced here in the second round is gonna there's gonna be more activity coming out of this.
I agree.
There's going to be a lot of teams that are looking at this. So, no, you're right. Like, I think Dallas, San Antonio being at the top is going to make things really interesting.
Yeah. Okay, back to the Raps, 9th overall pick. I think, look, there's a number of players that I like in that range. I think that somebody, in terms of, let's go by positions. The bigs. I'll try to sell you on these bigs.
Okay.
So, I think at least one of Kaman Malawach or Derek Queen should be available at 9th.
Okay. That sounds encouraging to me, but because I feel like Raptors fans have been kind of looking at those 2 players.
Yeah.
And picked out like good things about them.
Well, I mean, as much as the Raptors will always tell you that they're drafting best player available, I think that you've heard both Bobby after the trade deadline and then Masai after the end of the season discuss how they need a young big in the pipeline. And I think that the 9th pick should offer you a good window to potentially add one of those guys. So two very different options here. Kaman Malawach, we did see him in the obviously the Duke's run, I guess, to the Final Four and ultimately flame out in the Final Four against Houston. That game was very unfortunate for Kaman. On the court itself, it was an infamous 0 rebound game, and his team lost. Off the court, it was obviously more shenanigans from the U.S. government suddenly revoking and wanting to deport pretty much every South Sudanese passport holder. Yeah. And so, like,
great job, Trump.
No, seriously, Donald Trump literally ruined Duke's playoff run, let's say. But in any case, he's a 7'2" with shoes. I mean, I hate when they measure without shoes. I mean, like, what they're gonna do? Play bare feet?
Take your Skechers off.
yo, you think Adam Silver just on the side with a tape measure, be like, no socks either, man. Stop trying to pivot. Like, just like with no shoes. I think it was like 7'1". So with shoes, like 7'2".
Just doing a quick check on the Celtics game. Go ahead.
7'6" wingspan. A standing reach basically the same as Wemby. Like if him and Wemby, like high-fived each other, neither of them would have to stretch for it, which is kind of crazy to think about. Not as like freakishly mobile and like athletic as Wemby, but still decently mobile.
Right.
The guy would light on his feet. The issue is he doesn't really have much of an offensive game, at least what he displayed.
No shot, no low post game.
Never a low post game. Potentially a shot because he's actually decent from the foul line. But realistically, most of the optimism for him potentially shooting threes dates back to the Basketball Africa League where he actually played
defense
with
first. Defense first.
We're talking about a defense first, a guy who can really define and protect the basket for you.
Okay.
That's sort of the option there. On the flip side, if you want to go entirely in the opposite direction, offensively at center, you can go with Derek Queen, who has a big body, has a really great handle, can like honestly handle it pretty well. There was lots of possessions for Maryland where he played, where he was able to like, bring the ball up past half, get into your offensive set. He has a pretty decent face-up game. Like he knows when to like pick up the ball. Like it's a little hard to sort of time when he's going to actually go. One of the comparisons for him is like an Alperen Şengün, for example, and that sort of like herky-jerky, still mostly below the rim, but most likely can be a guy who you can run a lot more offensively through. He can score in a lot of different scenarios that aren't just like catching lobs, which is probably where Malawak would most likely be doing for you. Derek Queen's a guy who can maybe initiate more of your offense. The issue is defensively, the guy's 6'9" and he's mostly like upright, so he's not going to be getting above the rim to protect the rim at all, and you're not going to get a plus defender at either the 4 or the 5.
Right. I've been leaning towards the defensive. Guy, Malawak.
Don't worry, Libaan coming in.
Libaan, where are you at, man?
Libaan coming in 1 minute, real shortly.
Please, man. Also, apologies. I had guaranteed that if the Raptors got the number 1 pick, I was gonna make the walk from downtown to Richmond Hill.
Yeah.
Had a lot of people reach out saying that they were gonna meet me on Highway 7 and support me and stuff. So
they're gonna run the last leg with you? It's crazy. Meet you on Highway 7. You're already in Markham for that.
They call me Terry Ox.
You Terry Rat.
So I do still want to make this walk, but we need to find a reason. I really want to do this.
That's walk. Like a protest. Walk the other direction. Walk from Markham all the way down to Scotiabank Arena.
So if chat or whoever wants to give me a reason to make this walk, I still want to do this walk.
Yeah.
So
wow. I think that would have been really fun. Honestly, there was like
I still want to do it.
No, I mean I was okay. just go ahead and walk to Markham then, man. No one's stopping you. Why are you making this such a big deal?
So are you bummed out? It feels like a lot of people are bummed out.
No, I think people are bummed out. I mean, look, this is what I said earlier. It's like when you put so many like eggs into the tanking basket and you spend all season not looking at what's on the court and looking ahead to what's coming, when you actually get the reality, which is the Raptors were always more likely to drop than they were to actually jump up or stay the same, basically. Like, this is kind of the outcome.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and so, yeah, 9th is a little jarring. I think probably 8th would probably be more common. Like, that's the highest odds. I think that like a 33% chance or 36% chance at
But how quickly are you going to talk yourself into, the Raptors are going to figure it out and get a nice player?
Well, I think if you look at what the Raptors actually have already, this is why I don't want people to just like look away from the encore product. Because yes, the Raptors were really bad. At one point, they were 8-31 on the year. But they did add Brandon Ingram over the course of the season, which we didn't see him play, mostly because of tanking reasons, but also maybe because his ankle. I don't know. But honestly, whatever, right? But you should have a healthy Brandon Ingram next season. You have Scotty, who didn't take a step forward offensively, but was really good defensively for you. Maybe can be sort of that number 2, but also plays great defense for you type. You do have IQ and RJ, which there might be something there. I think maybe long term, I probably only want to move forward with one of them rather than both.
Okay.
But that depends, again, ultimately based on what you would have come out of the draft with. Maybe, for example, the Raptors came out with Cooper Flagg. I mean, whatever. One of them was going to get benched regardless. If you came out with Dylan Harper with number 2 pick, for example, the Raptors probably still move on with him as the starter and probably one of those other guys going to the bench. Now, based on the 9th pick, I think all those guys are going to just stay in the starting 5, and I think that like there are young rookies that I thought did a really good job with that second unit. So the roster as is, I think I like it. I think the reason why a lot of people are upset though is this is a huge opportunity to add talent, and because the odds weren't in our favor or the draft, like the luck wasn't in our favor, we weren't able to capitalize on that. Right. So I think when people really calm down, I think this has been 38 minutes afterwards, you can understand it a little bit better. But realistically, it's going to be something that, we can't figure out going forward. We're just working to get Libaan on the line here because he actually had just spoken to Masai, and we want to get his thoughts on what the team said and everything like that. Jerome's going to just pop back in when we're fully ready for this. But any other topics, Alex, man? Anything else? Are you disappointed? Like, you're a longtime Raptor fan.
Yeah, I'm pretty disappointed.
What are you disappointed
Once
with?
again, I just think that they should have just worked harder to get the odds. That's really my narrative.
Okay.
And that's it.
But there's no guarantees. You know what I mean? Like, there's really no guarantees at all.
Yeah, but I think it was just not fun for anybody this season to have to go through all the tanking stuff.
Yeah.
Whether you were for it or not. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I do hope that we have like a serious season next year. Like, I know that like you would argue that if the Raptors tank another year, they might be able to do this again. And based on the flattening of the odds, you don't have to be so bad. You could still jump up. But ultimately, for me, I'm just like, look, I want to actually, I don't want to just keep the roster in limbo for another year.
Yeah.
I think that you should ultimately try to build. And I actually really commended what Darko was able to do with the camaraderie of the team and getting the team to play better defense. I do commend young players like Scotty trying to make a name for themselves in the league. I do commend guys like RJ and IQ getting committed to as long-term starters, seeing what they could do.
Yeah.
And then Ingram getting a second chance. And then Jakob, I mean, bless Jakob. I mean, he's played pretty well based on what he
we
is,
love
you know
Yak.
what I mean? Like, I would actually like to just see those guys be able to play serious basketball. And whatever, if they fail for the first half of the season, then maybe we pivot again. But I'm actually really excited to see what that group looks like altogether once we got a chance to see them. But hopefully we can get Libaan into the room and get his thoughts here. I'm going to put on some headphones. I'm going to push Alex out the way. Please enjoy those Mala wings as we discuss some of the prospects and options the Raptors have at the 9th overall pick. We're just going to give us a quick second. I'm going to switch to my headphones here. And Jerome, let's try to bring in Libaan into this mix.
Hey.
Yo, Lee, can we hear you?
Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Hello.
Okay, I can't hear him, Jerome. Can I check my headphones? Oh. Yo, Libaan, talk to me.
What's up?
Oh, okay, I got you.
Oh, you got me? Hey.
What's up, my guy?
How you doing? I'm just at the Marriott. You know the Marriott.
Oh, look at this guy, man. Yo, Young Shams in the building.
Don't do that.
Honestly, when we're talking about in the future, it's going to be you interviewing Ace Bailey and Dylan Harper, going forward, especially if they're Canadian. Obviously, this is Libaan Osman of the Toronto Star and, of course, of the Canadian Basketball Show, which I was just on. Appreciate you for jumping on. Okay, first off, you were in the room. I'm assuming you had your eyes fixed on Masai and the Raptors' announcement that they had picked 9th. Give me the account of what Masai's face looked like at that time.
No reaction. Zero reaction. I was kind of like, I was hoping for him to be like, like move his arms or be like, damn, or something like that.
Yeah.
No reaction. And
Poker face.
And he spoke afterwards. We chatted with him. A few of us, Toronto media, were out here, and yeah, he said like highs and lows. Like he's seen so much. Like this doesn't move him really. So yeah, really? He wasn't. I don't think but he came in having hope. That's what he said. He said he came in having hope, but sure. Obviously the lottery. He called it like this is like the actual. Like he felt like what I just witnessed with Dallas getting the number 1 pick was the real life lottery.
Well, okay, that's the other part I wanted to ask you, because it's not just Masai in there, but there's like every other, like major decision makers in that room. Yeah. Is there a sense in that room where people are pissed that it's Dallas of all teams that ends up with the number 1 pick?
I was sitting next to some players that are going to get drafted in the first round. They were like, "How is this possible?" Some of them were like, "Why? How does Dallas get this?" But I'll say this. I was even talking to some agents, man. Some people think this is rigged.
Ooh.
Some people think this is rigged. Some people, I think this even deepens the conspiracy theory that, okay, the Luka was given to the Lakers just for the marketability of the league or whatever you want to say it is. And then this was Dallas's return to get Cooper Flagg.
This is nasty work, man.
This was talked in the room. I thought this was just like on Twitter, on X Talk, but hey, people in the room.
X Talk is crazy, man. I'll never say that again.
People in the NBA are talking about this, which is just, it makes you think, man, was this rigged? Well, was this rigged?
If you were to write this in a movie, this is exactly how it'll go. This is like that twist that everyone could see coming. You know what I mean? But I look, the league has those like accountability measures, right? Like, isn't like Doug Smith in that room? Isn't Bobby Webster in that room?
Doug was in the room. Yeah.
Yeah, so like, you trust Doug? Ask your coworker, man.
But I don't know.
Coworker if this was rigged.
I don't know, man. Like, even people have said like they want to be in that room just to see if it's rigged. So I don't know, man. It's a tough situation, and man, I was just praying. I saw Nick Nurse sitting courtside. Man, he was up front and center. I'm like, man, please don't give Nick Nurse first round pick, man. Even though they still got a top 4 pick, but hey.
Was Nick Nurse in a deep squat? Remember Nick always on that deep squat? Like Nick Nurse on that Megan Thee Stallion time?
I haven't seen him that happy, man, in years. Like he's excited, man. He's excited.
Brother. Yeah. This is okay, well, so the Raps get the 9th pick. I know you study the draft a lot. Who are some of the names that are realistic for the Raptors budget at that 9th pick that all of a sudden your mind now turns to as somebody who covers the Toronto Raptors full time? Yeah,
I'm thinking bigs, right? That's kind of where I'm at. There's a few guys I like, but also like Masai. I asked Masai, I'm like, what are you expecting now in terms of? Do you expect to cast a wide range in terms of? Now you're at the 9th pick. He's like, yeah, like I think we're gonna get guys that we probably wouldn't have or probably couldn't have get to come work out for us and kind of see just what their potential is. And I think they're gonna like he said they're gonna work out maybe like 60 to 90 people. So obviously that includes like they have a 2nd round pick. So take that with a grain of salt. They're gonna get a bunch of like 2-way guys in, of course, but I think they're gonna invite a lot of people in, especially in that 1st round range. People that might be lottery, might not be lottery. Guys that I like, I like Kamal Malawach, man, big man out of Duke, man. It seems too scripted. Like we talked about Dallas getting the 1st round pick.
Is he still on that table for 9th? Because there might be a little danger. Like even if someone takes him above him, I wouldn't be that surprised.
I wouldn't be too, man. I don't know what his measurements were today, but if it was
7'6"
good,
wingspan, I think 7'1" without shoes.
I'm taking him top 5 if I'm.
Wow.
But Colin Murray Boyles out of South Carolina, I feel like he's an underrated guy that not a lot of people talk about. Good defender, great passer. Obviously, he still needs to work on the shot. Got to fix the mechanics, but I don't think he even hit it. He hit a 3. He shot like 1.1 this year. I shot below 30%. Didn't shoot a 3 last year. Is a sophomore coming in. He's a standout defender that I think people should be looking at. And I'm trying to think of who else. We've talked about Derek Queen. I seen him. He seemed like shocked about everything that was going on. Like I was sitting next to, sitting next to like Jace Richardson, Michigan State guy.
Yep.
Liam McNeely, who the Raptors probably will bring in for a workout. Even Cooper. Cooper looked like, what the hell did I just watch? Cooper's like,
of course.
I'm going to Dallas.
No one was saying Mavs, man. This guy's probably looking at properties in Utah, man.
Yeah. So, man, a lot of people shocked. But I do think, like, the Raptors, like, it's a range where this person, I wonder if they expect him to play right away. They could go either way, right? They could go on a guy that has long-term potential, or they can just go on a guy that they're like, okay, we know what they're capable of, and we want to bring him in. And a lot of names, man, especially like everyone that's talking. Masai even said it, like from 3 to 12, everybody has a different board. That's what he was saying.
For sure.
So I think outside of those 2.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think ideally you probably walk out of it with a big. Like I actually be pretty happy with either Malawach or Queen, 2 very different players. But I could even talk myself into Colin Murray Boyles, even though I just feel like his comp is like basically Draymond without the flagrance. Like a peaceful, like a pacifist version of Draymond. You know what I mean? Like that doesn't sound so bad. But I do think that that's a difficult fit with when you already have Scotty and Jakob. I think with the 9th pick, you have to look at fit a little bit. And I do think that, like, if there's somebody that quote-unquote drops, right, even though, as you mentioned, there's a lot of people who see 3 to 12 as more flat. If there's somebody who drops, like, I mean, it wouldn't be the biggest surprise in the world if, like, Ace Bailey started dropping on draft night because people are like, yo, this guy mostly shoots contested jumpers, doesn't really play, great team offense at all. And, we're not really consoled on his analytics. Like, I could see a scenario where he starts sliding on draft night, and you're like, whoa, you're in a good position at 9th to potentially scoop up one of those guys. Same thing with Fears. Like, there's a lot of talk about Jeremiah Fears right now. He's a very athletic guard. You know, out of Oklahoma, he was really, really promising as a freshman. I mean, he should really still be in high school right now. But I don't think he's a guarantee either. And especially if he doesn't do well in these three-point shooting drills, he doesn't do well in these interviews, he doesn't do well in these, combines, workouts. We'll see if he actually plays in some of those scrimmages that will coming up in the next week. Like, the Raps could be there in position to take one of those guys who slide. That's all I'm saying. That's the more positive outlook.
On those two, on Ace Bailey first, he measured terribly today. Like, a lot of people are like, he's supposed to be a 6'10" guy. He measured 6'7" and a half barefoot, and he's supposed to be like a 6'9", like a Kevin Durant type of build. Man, he might slide. That's why when Masai said it's 3 to 12, I think Ace Bailey. I think it's definitely gonna be Cooper at number 1. I think Dylan Harper goes number 2, and then from there, man, it's up for grabs. And you mentioned Jeremiah Fears. He's like, I feel like a point guard that can get to the rim at will, fast, slippery. Will he go with the ball in his hands? But the efficiency is just not there. Like, he hasn't shot the ball really well. And
he hasn't really finished at the rim well either. That's the other issue that you might look at. Yeah, but he gets there a lot.
But high upside though, man. Like you mentioned, he should be in high. Sure. He should be graduating high school, man.
Yeah, sure.
So he's another name.
Yeah, there's guys in that range. I think I don't know if this was asked to Masai, but do you think the Raps draft on fit or draft on best player available at 9?
I remember him talking about this, and we didn't really ask him that, but he did. Like, he's talked about that specifically. He said we always go for best talent available. I remember him saying at his end season presser, and I'll give you, Masai had I feel like a pretty Masai's classic quotes.
Oh, he off the cuff?
You know what he said?
Some classic quotes.
You know what he said, man? This is not verbatim. He said
summarize.
He said we got number 9, we got DeMar, we got Tracy, we got Jakob. We'll be fine. That's what he said.
Bro, that's what I just said in the pod before you came on, man.
That's what he said. So, hey, man. I don't know if you tapped in
with that answer that was fed to him.
When he said that, I was like, okay. But they're confident. They're confident in their ability to draft at the end of the day. So, I don't think he's too worried about. Obviously, obviously you want to move up in the draft, but
for sure.
9th is, especially the way they were losing games at the end of the season, man, unethical. But I support it, to be honest. Like, I didn't want to watch winning basketball, to be honest with you. And I like you and me've talked about it, man. I've watched.
Hey, you didn't want to watch losing basketball either, man, because you and I were watching some Raps Wizards, some Raps Hornets.
Man. And we have on the side of our screen, we got college basketball going on at the same time.
Yeah, for real. Yeah.
So I like me and you both. I barely tapped into the end of the Raptors season, and kind of sad they don't get a higher pick, but I think they'll be fine. Masai and them feel comfortable, so yeah.
This is the one thing you can't knock the Raps for. Like, you can say whatever you want about these guys. You can be angry they didn't tank hard or whatever. Man, the Raps consistently draft really well. And when you look back 2-3 years after the draft, those are the guys you're like, they should have been picked higher. When you look at Pascal 27, and like, you can argue, honestly, you can look back at that 2016 draft. You might look at it and be like, yo, Pascal should be top 1, top 2 in that draft. It's like him and Jaylen Brown, basically. You know what I mean? And like, there's a lot of examples of that. So I think there's a couple of players. I think there will be more time to look at sort of what specifically the Raptors could take at 9. For you've been down there for the weekend, and I think there's a lot of discussion, especially today. I feel like I've seen Shams on like every single show on ESPN talking about how Giannis wants to potentially look at his future beyond Milwaukee. Is that like the water cooler talk around the combine right now about Giannis?
Yeah, everyone's wondering if he's going to stay, if he's going to go. You see side teams having conversations. You see Bucks representatives out here like – they don't even seem certain. Like, it's going to be that. I think that's going to be the domino effect, right? With everything that happens, and the way Masai talked, like Masai said, it's like I have a quote here. He said, "The NBA is just trades now. That's how he sees it." So, free agency.
That's dead.
Like you've talked about it. The Raptors don't value free agency that much, outside of retaining their guys, right? But trades is where the market is at. So Giannis is going to be the first domino wherever he goes. And then from there, it's like, who can build the best case and get him, right? And what Milwaukee wants in return. So you expect a lot of teams probably meeting on the side, talking about it at the combine. This is probably where a lot of teams are going to be having that discussion for the first time and heading into the summer, like before it actually picks up. And then, yeah, we'll see. Zion Williamson was hilarious seeing him sit at the front. I'm like, is he here long term sitting for the Pelicans at the lottery?
I was gonna say, why did they send Zion, man? I guess who else are you gonna send from New Orleans, man?
Yeah, it was.
Don't they have no coach, like no GM, like?
They got to figure stuff out. That was the one team I'm like, please don't give them a number one pick because they've screwed it up every single time.
No,
even though Zion is a tough, because you can't really predict that.
Yeah, the Pelicans, the Hornets, those are two teams where I feel like really good prospects go to get their careers derailed for whatever reason. A lot of time, honestly, more for injuries more than anything else. We know that you have a huge focus on the Canadian basketball scene. Mm-hmm. So I know this is not as loaded of a draft for Canadians. Like, this isn't exactly like the draft that had Wiggins in it or the draft that had like Jamal Murray or Shaedon Sharp or whatever. But at the same time, there are obviously going to be Canadians in this draft. I saw you were actually the first to report, credit to you, young Shams in the building, that Ryan Nembhard had done well at the G League portion of the draft this weekend, and he got invited to the actual combine itself. So congrats to Ryan Nembhard and his family. But of course, there's other Canadian talents that could potentially be in play. I mean, we're talking ninth. Like, there's no way Will Riley. Like, Raps could reach for Will.
I don't know. I don't see it, to be honest. I don't see Will.
Wow. Okay.
I don't feel even work out for the Raptors, to be honest with you. So
why? Why?
I just don't see it. I don't think. I just don't see that happening. I don't see that happening.
All right, I'll text you later. Don't worry.
We'll talk about it later. But in terms of his range, I think he's a lottery guy potentially. If workouts go well, he just measured well. This guy is 6'9.5", and I stood next to him. I was chatting with him. I saw him last night, and I saw him today too at the lottery. This guy's like, he grew. Like, I watched him at Nike Hoop Summit last year. I forgot what the measurements were exactly, but he was expected to be higher than taller than he was before. But now he's at like 6'9.5", which is insane, and he's still growing. His people are saying he's still growing. So Will Riley is, man, one of probably the best like pure scorers we'll see out of Canada coming down in recent memory. And yeah, I think a lot of teams are excited about him. I talked to teams that are in his range, like late lottery, around the 20 range. A lot of teams love him, man. They're like, man, he's if everything hits right, and especially like we talk about Jeremiah Fears should have been in high school. This guy should have been in high school too. Sure. So Will Riley, a name to watch. Obviously depends on how well he does in the workouts and interviewing with teams and that kind of stuff. That goes a long way. I don't think people realize that's how you sell. Like, your scouts watch all these players, but to get the go ahead from like the owners or everyone that gives you the go ahead to draft this guy, they have to watch them in person and be like, okay, he's good.
Sure.
I watched, and if you stink and you shoot like terribly in the workout, you can't convince the head guy because you'd be like, what am I watching? Like, he didn't look good for me, or like the conversation's off, dinner didn't go well when you took him out. Like, it's a lot of stuff, a lot of politics, right? When I talk politics, it's about like if players want to end up there. We saw Alex Sarr, who said,
people tank their interviews all the time. Yeah,
Alex Sarr said, "Do not draft me, Atlanta." Right, last year. So, and he ended up in Washington. So all depends, man. But Will Riley, I think he's a lottery pick. If I had a, well, I'm obviously biased, you know me. So I cover Canadian talent. So take that with a grain of salt when you hear me talk about Will Riley. But Ryan Nembhard, also a name. He's kind of a fringe guy.
Talk to me about his journey, man, because I feel like, I mean, when you don't originally get invited to the combine, like, that is sort of a bit of a setback. But he was on that bubble, and it looked like he played really well on the weekend, and he earned his way there.
Yeah, just to tease, I have Ryan Nembhard coming on my podcast next week. So we chatted, excited for him. This was before he received the invite to the combine. But Ryan, I think his people actually thought he would get an invite and were surprised. And then played well, really well in the first scrimmage, had 9 assists, should have had 10. They didn't count one. And everybody I spoke to that was like there, teams, players were like, everyone is praying to be on Ryan Nembhard's team because he's going to make them look good. He's going to set them up perfectly. And then you look at the guys that received the call-up from the G League Elite Camp to the Combine. 3 of those guys were on Nembhard's team. So it was him, it was 2 other guys. So, and those guys, like, he set up. Like, he found Mackenzie, played at Indiana. I'm forgetting his last name. But he played really well, shot the ball because Ryan found him. Another big, rolled when Ryan found him, man. And he ended up getting invited to the Combine. So guys are praying. Guys are praying to play with Ryan, and then he deserved it. Hit a clutch 3 in the second game to win for his team. And, yeah, obviously the size is the biggest issue. He says he's 6 foot. Some people say he's 5'11". But Ryan Nembhard, man, some people say, hey, like I've talked to, he's like, he would be better. Like you might think this is crazy. People think he would have been better than Andrew Nembhard if he was taller.
Wow.
If he was taller. He's that good of a passer.
That's a big if, but I mean,
he's that good of a passer.
Right now, man.
He's that good of a passer. So yeah, he's like a name that fringe guy, but I think a team will give him a chance. And just you can't 9.8 assists in college this past season, led the NCAA. You can't pass that up, especially on a 2-way or end of draft. And you want a guy that you can see, can this translate to the NBA level? Obviously he's short, but let's take a chance. Let's take a chance.
Yeah, there you go. You know the Raptors love drafting short guards as well. The Raptors do have the 39th pick, by the way, which I guess we'll talk about maybe in more detail as it comes. But at the 9th pick right now, Libaan, best case scenario for you as we wrap up here.
Best case scenario.
Who's that guy that the Raptors take with the 9th pick a month from now? You're walking away just laughing. You're like, this is my guy.
I'm trying to see if anybody's going to fall. That's the question. I don't think Trey Johnson's going to fall. I'm laughing if he ends up at 9.
Ooh, that's a bucket.
I doubt it. I think he might go top 4, top 5, to be honest. He's a bucket getter. VJ also measured well. I don't see him dropping. I'm honestly laughing if they get, honestly, Jeremiah Fears falls, man. If he falls,
okay. All right.
I'm laughing just because I'm not completely sold on just on Emmanuel Quickley as a future point guard. So we'll see how that works out. Obviously, give him time. He was injured last year, so still got to see how that pans out. But man, if you could have a backcourt where you get Fears, obviously you take your time with him. He's small, probably plays in the G League a little bit, but yeah. Hey,
he's not that small, right? Like, what is he measured as? Like 6'2", 6'2.5"? Like that's
my fault.
That's a regular point guard.
My fault. He's actually bigger than. I'm confusing him with somebody else. He's actually like 6'4", 6'5". I think. I believe.
I saw Jace measured at 6 foot, like flat. Like he might be a Fred VanVleet type.
That was. Everyone was shocked about that. Everyone was like, "What the hell?" Yeah. He's man. He was supposed to be like top 10, top 11 range. So, man,
he might slide a little.
He might slip. Even Danny Wolf, man. I heard Danny Wolf, Michigan. Hey, man.
I mean,
good passer.
For sure. There's no doubt.
I'm just saying a bunch of names. Con Knippel, man. Duke, man. He plays the right way. But I don't know if they want to. People, obviously, I think a lot of Raptors fans, they look at the guy, they'll think, right, Grady Dick 2.0. Not Grady Dick at all.
Nah. He's not really like Grady. They're just both white. Let's be real.
Yeah. But yeah, honestly, for
not
me.
Fair, man.
Yeah. But for me, the 3 guys, Colin Murray Boyles, Kaban Malawach, Derek Queen. That's where I see kind of their range with the Raptors, and I'll be happy with any of the 3 guys. And Derek Queen, I think Derek Queen, he has the personality.
Bro, he's got it, man. I like it. I like his game. He got a little nasty to him. He hit that game winner in the tournament.
Yeah, and he measured well. He's a big guy. So I think he'll fit well with the culture that the Raptors are setting. Derek Queen. Queen's probably my guy, honestly. Him and Kaman Malawach. I go back and forth.
All right, so the rest of the week. I'm excited to see all the coverage, man. If you want to see coverage from a Canadian standpoint, but even just generally draft coverage, I know a lot of people have a lot of other draft guys in mind. This is around that time where people start really, going to their draft list and stuff like that. But you got to make sure you put Libaan Osman on that list. This guy's tapped in. This guy's on the ground. You going to be there for the rest of the week, man? What can we expect, man?
Yeah, you'll be expecting a lot of Will Riley highlights. He'll be going through the shooting drill. I'm honestly, some people hit me up, be like, yo, can you capture some Cooper Flagg, Raptors? Obviously, Cooper Flagg, we're not in the mix anymore. But more, you'll see me capture some guys that are probably in the Raptors range. I'll catch them working out. A lot of guys tomorrow will be the shooting drills. So every prospect is going to be going. They have a time slot. I think it begins around maybe around noon or 10. I don't know. Correct me. The schedules have been posted, I believe. Probably find out on Twitter or hit me up if you want to know more about that. But guys will all, every guy that's invited to the combine will all shoot around. They'll play. They'll go through shooting drills. They'll do like a off the dribble pull up. They'll do like a 3-point star drill, going all the way across the court, shooting threes. A bunch of drills, shooting free throws, like a bunch of drills like that. That's Tuesday. Wednesday, we'll all speak with the players that are going to be at the combine. So a bunch of interviews will be happening on Wednesday. And Wednesday also, there'll be scrimmages in between that. So you'll see Team 1, Team 2, Team 3, Team 4 playing. And then Thursday also scrimmages. I don't think there is a first-round guy that is scrimmaging. That's just not normal. Guys don't do that.
That's so weak, man. But I get it. But
yeah.
But well, you know.
But I'm trying to think of any of the key guys that are working out. But Ryan Nembhard is going to scrimmage, so you expect highlights from that. Will Riley won't be scrimmaging, but expect the shooting drills, all that kind of stuff. And yeah, I think it's gonna be a fun week. It's like everybody's here, man. Everybody, man. You run into the most random people, man. Like
who's the most random person you run into, man?
Honestly, Cooper, man. I ran into the elevator. I'm like, oh shit. I'm like, damn. That was yesterday. So I was like, oh my god. I seen him in the hallway. Who else?
He got aura.
He's number one pick. I'll say that. He's number one pick.
He got the number one aura. Okay.
He got the number one pick aura, man. I'm trying to think of anybody else, man. But Hakeem Olajuwon was also there, man. Seeing him every single time. Seeing him gets me starstruck a bit.
Muslim icon, man.
Muslim icon, man. And yeah, a lot of everybody's here, man. Everybody's here to,
Proud of you, dog. Okay, listen. Follow Libaan, Osman. Honestly, I see you sharing on Instagram too. Follow you on Twitter though. Just look for Libaan, and of course, make sure you tap into the Canadian Basketball Show, man. It's gonna be, man. Ryan Nembhard. I'm looking forward to hearing his journey. That's a really proud family over there, and soon they'll have 2 sons in the NBA, and that's such a huge accomplishment. But Libaan, I appreciate you, man. I know you got a lot of hard work to do. I appreciate you tapping in here, and appreciate you, man.
One last thing, you at Hanxing, huh?
Oh yeah, we got these wings for you, man. Next time you come here, buddy, it's
on
us, man.
That's what I needed, man.
Fried rice with just chicken, no egg. That's on us, man. We got you, man.
All right, I'm putting you on. I'm putting you on. I remember that.
We making that.
I will be there.
We making it with no shellfish. We making it with no egg.
Yeah.
What else we got, man?
Anything in the water, do not make it. I'm allergic to it.
Nothing in the water. Yeah, we're making you chicken parm at Hanxing. Hanxing will make you your own chicken parm, man.
Hey, I'm there.
Alex just called you halal Olajuwon on the podcast, man.
Hey, I'm there when it happens, man. Appreciate you guys having me on.
All right, bro.
All right.
Hey, big thanks to Libaan Osman for popping on. Yeah, I mean, look, I think there's a lot of other names that could be in that list. Just real quickly before we get to your questions, I was trying to run through this with Alex, but Alex was dying every time I said any prospects' names. So for me, my top 3 bigs in the Raptors' realistic range, number 1 for me would be Kama Malawach. For the defensive potential, I'm betting on the defense more than a guy like Derek Queen's offense. I think Malawach would really help defensively, just set a tone for the team, and I feel like that's something you can really build and bank off of. Number 2 for me is Derek Queen. I just like the size. I like the combination of skill. Honestly, it's close. It's a little 1A, 1B for me. You could talk me into Queen on any given night just based on watching some of his highlights. Really like that style of player. The Raptors haven't had one of those guys in a minute too. I like his ability. I would not be unhappy with either of those 2 guys. Colin Murray-Boyle, someone that me and Libaan talked about a little bit. But for me, he does a lot of the in-between stuff. Like, imagine, like he's like kind of like Mobo, but obviously a lot younger than Mobo, and he has a big body, so he can maybe potentially guard up 5s a little bit better than a guy like Mobo can. But a lot of those in-between skills, kind of a lefty post-up player, face-up and drive. To be honest, that's not such a good aspect of his game where I'm not exactly clear on my offense to let him do that, especially as a rookie. But I like a lot of the in-between skills. I really love the way he can defend, especially now you're seeing in the playoffs the value of having a big who can guard in a variety of positions, whether that's, showing out top of the three-point line, playing in drop, playing in switch, being able to rotate, cover multiple positions. Honestly, that you can even talk me into that being more valuable than rim protection itself, because so much of the game nowadays is played on the perimeter, and the more switchable defenders you have, the better chance you have of just guarding in general. Colin Murray-Boyles is going to be a really good player, and he's going to play for a really good team. I have no doubt about that. Those are my top 3 bigs. My top guards in the Raptors range really is just 2. For me, I think Jeremiah Fears, I would bet on the upside. I think that he's really young, he's really athletic, he's really quick. He's able to really shift and get by his man, uses crossovers to create angles, and then gets downhill. Right now, there's concerns over can he finish well. He didn't really finish all that effectively at the rim, but he got there a ton, which I think is a harder thing to do. And I think the other part is, can he shoot the outside shot well enough? Because realistically, you're looking at a combo guard, but someone who mostly slashes. We've seen other types of players of this ilk, like Jaden Ivey, for example, someone that went to the Pistons recently with the top 5 pick. In that kind of range, maybe even a Scoot Henderson. Like, I don't think that Jeremiah is going to be drafted as high as those other guys, but kind of in that sort of style where if they have the shot dropping, if they're able to finish, all of a sudden you have a really dynamic score in the backcourt, which the Raptors kind of do have, but also at the same time, I think there is a bit of a higher potential with a guy like Fears as compared to what the Raptors currently have with IQ and RJ. Kaspers Jakučionis could also be really interesting, a guy who can really shoot the 3, and a lot of his game predicates off of that ability to shoot the 3, especially as a pull-up three-point shooter. You see a lot of the point guards nowadays where they're able to use the threat of their pull-up to draw a second defender or pull a big out the lane off those pick and rolls, and then that sort of allows him to play make for other guys, whether that's turning the corner and getting into the paint. All of a sudden the defense is completely scrambled, or hitting the roll man, or popping out, or whatever. But if you're able to draw 2 because you're such a good three-point shooter, especially off the dribble, that is a really valuable skill. Granted, I feel like with Jakučionis, like, his turnovers became an issue. Also, he didn't have a really strong tournament, and I think there may be some concerns over can he actually really be that effective as a shooter to then translate, because realistically, it's just not that strong of an overall game, I would say. But ultimately, if the Raptors won with a point guard, I don't think Jakučionis is a bad bet necessarily, especially at 9. I think when you're looking at the wings, there's probably not a big chance of Trey Johnson dropping that low, but I mean, I'd be certainly very intrigued. I think Trey measured in at like 6'4.5" without shoes, so like roughly like the Devin Booker size. I think that's probably like the highest end outcome is a Devin Booker type, where they're just such a premium shooter, but they can also get it for themselves. They can play it off ball. They can maybe handle a little bit if they need to. We've seen, for example, a guy like Devin Booker early in his career, because Phoenix really didn't have any point guards to play with him. He played a lot of point guard and really developed a lot of more of his own shot creation. I think there might be a path of that for Trey, but certainly had a really strong year as a freshman in Texas, and was able to really create and shoot a high percentage from all 3 levels, which I really like. Probably weakest at the rim. He's probably strongest in the mid-range and has the 3 ball as well, but certainly a nice little score. I think that would really introduce redundancies in terms of what you have at shooting guard, because right now the Raptors already have redundancy at shooting guard. But truthfully, Trey, if he came out of this draft as like the second or third best scorer in the draft, no one will be surprised. And I think in that level alone, if you can get that at 9th pick, I think you should be pretty happy. Even a Knipple, I know that it's not necessarily the most sexy pick, but at the same time, guy who measured in, I think, 6'4", 6'5", not a long wingspan. I think anyone who watched Duke this year can tell you he's not exactly, it's not exactly OG Anunoby or Bruno Caboclo out there, you know what I mean? But like, he's a guy who's very compact, very fundamental in sort of like the way he approaches offense. I think he was a very efficient player for Duke. Honestly, there was lots of focus on Cooper. There was lots of focus on Common. But like, I think with Con, like, he was also a huge factor for why Duke was successful this year. Obviously, they went into the tournament as the number 1 pick and flamed out in the Final Four. But that was a really good team. And he was kind of that overlooked freshman, could really shoot it from 3 as a really quick release, really stable. I love that the shot is the same thing every time. Can handle a little bit. I mean, he ran a little pick and roll for Duke. Duke didn't really have a traditional point guard either. They played a lot through Cooper. They played a lot through Con. I think there's some interesting things with him. And I think that, like, clearly he's a guy who, for me, can contribute to a winning environment. Defensively, honestly, there's actually some metrics to tell you that his individual matchups, he actually held a lot of guys of prominence to decent percentages. I think for me, that's still you got to show me that in the NBA first. I wouldn't bet on him being a strong defender, but it seems like he knows where to be and stuff like that. And I think that he's another guy who could really fit into rotations well. So those are the kind of guys that, you know, wouldn't be a surprise if the Raptors ended up with those guys. There's a couple sleepers that you're hearing more and more about. Will Riley, one of the guys I asked Libaan about, he's Canadian. He played at Illinois with Kasparas Yakuchonis. He's a guy who's rising. I mean, again, he's just really lanky, but he's a bucket. He can create. Mostly he's a catch and shoot, but mostly he can also create a little bit off the handle as well. I think that there's some potential there. He's got the size. He's like that big rangy wing that a lot of people would like. Basically like a diet version of like Ace Bailey, but he doesn't have that level of athleticism. But, you know, that kind of mold of like skinny, super tall, big, who can shoot over the top, and a pretty impressive shot maker based on their age and, you know, skill set of currently. He could be really interesting, and again, there's the Canadian angle as well. You know, you're hearing more about Carter Bryant. He's a forward that went to Arizona. Carter Bryant, okay, the drawback is he only averaged 6 points a game, which I think was like 9th on his team, Arizona this year. But I think when you look at the tape and the actual body and the build, really strong body, you know, plus wingspan, like 7 foot plus wingspan, probably 6'8". I got to check what his measurables were this year. But like a really versatile defender, you know, you could definitely see him as a guy, one of those guys who can switch multiple positions. You know, I think best case scenario would be like an OG Anunoby type for him, which again, if you come out of this draft with an OG type player at the 9th pick, especially based on what the Raptors currently need, that would be really interesting. Offensively, he doesn't create for himself. He's mostly going to be 3-and-D. If you remember rookie OG, he was mostly shooting corner threes, while DeMar and JV and Kyle and other guys handled the offense. Serge, you know, like. But I think there's something really interesting there. He's a strong body as well. And again, that length and athleticism to guard multiple positions could be interesting. Again, it might be a bit of a reach for the Raptors at 9, but again, it's really just how do these guys work out for you? How do they interview for you? If the Raptors like him, certainly they bet on 6'9", you know, plus wingspan guys like Carter Bryant. Similar, because Carter obviously is, you know, All-American and played here locally, I guess, in North America. Noah Senge is also somebody that's been a little bit interesting. I've seen his name a lot pop up, especially on those fringes of draft Twitter. He's 18 years old. He played for Ratio Farm Ulm, which I need to do more digging into this. I know Alex is on the side cry. He's like, why are you talking about Ratio Farm right now? But yeah, he's 6'10", lanky forward. He does a bit of everything. Doesn't really have an excellent standout skill just yet. But when you watch the tape, you can definitely see the flashes of like what he could potentially do. You see him playing anywhere between 3, 4, and 5 over there in Europe. It's a guy who can maybe shoot it and stretch it a little bit on the outside. Not a consistent knockdown shooter, but certainly has the frame and the size to do it. Actually, there's one game I think he played preseason. That team came over, or his team came over, and I think played Portland, and he actually had 20 points, which honestly, it's just one preseason game, but that's actually pretty decently impressive, especially for a young guy who has some size, who has some like rangy tools. That would take multiple years to really hone in. I think him and Carter probably similar, although Carter's defense and his body, he's just a lot stronger than a guy like Noah. Could probably instantly slot him in a little quicker than a guy like Noah, but maybe you give it a little bit more time, a little bit longer of a runway, you can see something there. You know, similar to, you know, Jaeger Demon is another guy who's 6'9", big point guard, measured well today at the, you know, the combine, and, you know, maybe we could potentially see him jump into the top 10 as well. But ultimately, when you're picking at 9, the range is pretty big. So those are the kind of guys I liked. I know we had some comments originally, but yeah, we'll do some comments. Okay, okay, it's time now for the Tangerine fan inbox. And listen, I know we're all a little disappointed right now with the Raptors not winning the draft, but we got to know the percentages. You got to know that Raps only had like a 36% chance to jump into the top 4, blah, blah, blah. It's all moot now because the Raps end up with the 9th pick. But still, you're still going to be fans, man. Let's be real. We might be mad, but we're still going to tune in. You're still going to tune in at draft day. You're still going to tune into other draft pods to see what the Raptors potentially could take at 9. And so for all of you, Tangerine is here to support you, all right, to commiserate a little bit. All right, so we're going to open that Tangerine fan inbox and see the crash outs. I know people are crashing out. I would love to see actually the crash outs a little bit. First one, Patrick Taylor, just straight no. Yeah, honestly, that was, if you saw our live reaction, me and Alex seeing the Raptors pick 9th, I think that was everybody's initial reaction to seeing that 9th pick, except for number one. All right, number one. Let's go. Not us. No!
Not like us.
No, look at the sun.
No, show's over, man.
we could use that clip in future instances. That's for damn sure. But I think we speak for a lot of fans for that initial reaction. What else we got here? Cornham says, guys, I'm crashing out right now. I don't think you're alone. I think that's what we're all doing right now. In a little bit of this setting here. What else we got? We got Gavin. Mavs fans need to feel this. Feel happy for them. Yeah. I mean, they also did just go to the finals, man. Like, you know what I mean? This is like one of those big banks got bailed out. You know what I mean? Like, this is like when they saved the big banks after the big short, I suppose. But yeah, I mean, I don't know, man. I feel like you doing your job poorly does not necessarily mean that you should have your franchise saved. But next one from Steven. Ernst & Young not doing their job. Honestly, what can we really say, man? This is not good for the Ernst & Young brand, I gotta say. Maybe they need another Big Four firm to be auditing these suspicious NBA lottery results. But I mean, look, this one from Patrick. Yeah, tanking's officially dead. I mean, I think that's the goal, right? The NBA wants to actually move towards a situation where it is what it is, and that's where I think for me it's just like, honestly, I was advocating for this, especially down the stretch. Make it completely flat lottery odds for everybody in the lottery. And if that means that the 13th or the 14th worst team in the league is going to win the lottery, well, guess what? We just had that happen with Atlanta, and we just had that happen with Dallas. So at least people wouldn't be as pissed when they see 1.8% winning it versus everybody who don't make the playoffs gets the same odds. Like, look, I just, America's based on capitalism, man. Let's pull up your bootstraps. Level of capitalism. Why do we have to result on everybody having to get their equal share? We got to help the Charlotte Hornets, man. Charlotte Hornets, you got to help yourselves, man. You guys are pathetic. Like, you know what I mean? Like, don't tank every year. How about that? How about you just make a good team and then you help yourself? You know what I mean? So take away the incentives, make the lottery odds flat, make it a true, no one has any expectations. Don't come in with we should be picking seventh. Like, nah, man, everyone got the same odds. We come out of it. It is what it is. That's where the chips fall. Because that's kind of how it feels anyway. This one, from Flying Hippos 101, cents and $10. I appreciate you. I'm not an EY accountant, but to show how improbable recent draft lottery results have been, the odds of Atlanta and Dallas both getting the number one pick based on their odds is 0.054%. Yeah, I mean, But I mean, you know what though? The one thing I would say is, people weren't exactly being like, oh, man, the draft is rigged when the Atlanta Hawks won it last year. So, but I hear you. I hear you. It certainly feels very convenient or inconvenient in this way. Joanne Bell says, Alex walking to Richmond Hill, uphill that whole way to find his therapist. Trust me, if that's how easy it was to find our therapist, Alex would have done this already, man. You know what I mean? Like, Alex would easily walk 6 hours to go find and get them back. But get them back. Someone sent in, Danish Malik said, what is that plate? This is the Mala wings at Hong Shing. Oh, yeah, we have an alternate angle. The Ja Morant angle, please. Don't perceive me and my wings. Yeah, we actually ordered this specifically as a bit so that we could recreate the infamous Ja Morant don't look at me in the camera meme. But also, whoa, I didn't know you could do all that. But in any case, yeah, there we go. Yeah, the Hong Shing, honestly, this is probably my favorite wing in the city, the Mala wings. They got that spicy but numbing feeling. It's a really good wing. Like, we legit just had this last Friday when we were here, and we're back here on a Monday, and this might be my only reprieve after all of this draft talk. And the disappointment of 9 is at least I can have 9 of these wings. So, yeah, I mean, come to Hong Shing, man. I'm not going to lie to you, man. There's a lot of, there's a lot of notable people that come through this restaurant, you know what I mean? So, appreciate all of you. Sherbert sent in $2. I appreciate you. That'll pay for one of these wings. 100% rigged. This is how the Cavs got Kyrie in 2011. Yeah, another really convenient scenario where LeBron leaves and they're like, all right, well, you'll just end up getting, arguably a top 5, maybe top 3 most skilled guard ever. So it happens. Koki says, insane that Dallas got Page and Cooper. Yeah, honestly, you got Paige Beckers and Cooper Flagg in the span of a month. Like, those are the 2 biggest names in college basketball this year. that's pretty good. I wonder how they're going to rig the draft for the Toronto tempo, man. You know what? The only way the Raptors can be forgiven, the only way as Canadian fans, we can be forgiven for getting the 9th pick is if we get Juju Watkins for the Toronto tempo. I think that's the only way that we'll forgive basketball as a sport. Let's just say that. Alex Newen says Tim McMahon's career is pumped. Man, respect Tim McMahon, man. You know what I mean? I never knew there was so much crashing out over teams firing their medical staff until Tim McMahon started going in on this Luka situation. And quite frankly, yeah, I mean, Tim's a great reporter, man. He's going to get to the bottom of every story. Let's see him get to the bottom of this rigged draft story. Own Boy sends in $6.99. Appreciate you, Own Boy. 9th pick, Blame Pie. I'll start 15% to Philly for not being able to beat us once. I mean, we got to do a Blame Pie? We could do a little Blame Pie. All right. We're not doing a Blame Pie. That's not here on the menu at Hong Shing. But I agree. I think Philadelphia deserves a big slice of this Blame Pie. I feel like Mark Tatum deserves a big slice of this Blame Pie. I do not support any Tatum of the NBA, and that includes Mark. Maybe more Mark than Jason at this point, honestly. I might like Jason Tatum more than I like Mark Tatum, but I think the one thing I don't like about Mark Tatum is that smiley demeanor. He's always just you know what I mean? Like, because Adam, okay, but before David Stern will come out, right? People will boo him. He'd be like, yeah, boo me, man, boo me. You know what I mean? I run this. I'm the commissioner. You know what I mean? First off, that's what used to happen. Or even when Adam Silver came out, he's like, look at me, haha, like, you know what I mean? I got big ears, like, and I'm going to announce to you what the draft order is. Mark Tatum just sits there with the same smile. And he just, it's unnerving, man. He got the same expression, the same smile. He's not living in the moment. He's almost like a robot delivering those cards. So hopefully, Mark Tatum, I'll rescind this when I interview you in the future. But for right now, it just freaks me out, man. I'm not going to lie to you. I don't like seeing you smile as the Raptors get the 9th pick, man. I'm a little pissed. Shouts to Alex, who sends in another question. Going to be another Masai Masterclass summer. Yeah, I mean, again, like, you put so much stock into the draft. I mean, I'm not going to say it's just you. Like, the Raptors organization put a lot of stock into the draft. Like, they angled a lot of what they did this year, pivoting towards trying to get the most odds in this draft. But ultimately, like I said, like, over the course of the whole entire season, the majority of what is going to happen to this team is based on the players on the roster. And that's for them. If they start improving and if the Raptors start making trades to get even better players, that's how the Raptors get better as a team. Not necessarily just by getting one potential like lightning in the bottle bailout. And that's kind of what's happening right now. You know what I mean? Like, look, you can always get this generational like cash coming out of the sky kind of type of lottery, but realistically, it's on Scotty to get better on offense. It's on RJ to get better on defense. It's on IQ to get better on both ends of the ball. And it's on the rookie class to continue jumping from being good rookies to actually being good rotation players. And if that doesn't happen, it don't matter what's coming in the draft that's coming to save you. Those guys need to save themselves. Top Shot Tesla sends in 5 for the lost Cooper Flagg revenue. Bro, it was more than 5, man. If Cooper Flagg would have changed our lives. But it's okay, though. 9th overall pick, man. People are still going to be tuning in for this, man. You know, we're Raptor fans, man. Frisbee, Bud. Yeah, shots at Frisbee, man. I've been missing playing Frisbee of late, man. We're finishing 6th. You heard it here first. Yeah, I mean, it's possible. Again, if Giannis leaves, the best player in the Eastern Conference is either Jason Tatum or Jalen Brunson. So, like, I'll take my chances. I mean, you know, it is what it is. Dorian, Nico Harrison is the GOAT. I mean, he might have honestly made a deal with the devil, and the devil might have been Mark Tatum in this instance. So that's kind of where we're at, you know. JM sends in 5. LeBron, D Rose, AD, Kyrie, Wiggins, Zion, Wemby, Cooper Flags were all rigged. You know what? Actually, I want to take a bit of time with this question. The LeBron one, really interesting because the Cavs actually didn't have the best overall odds for that one, but they were a pretty bad team. So it's like realistic that they ultimately ended up with LeBron, which, by the way, was the perfect homecoming story of Cleveland, one of the worst run franchises in the history of the NBA, basically, which at one point they had an owner who was so notorious for trading picks that they had to make rules for not trading picks. But they were able to add LeBron in that draft. That one, I feel like suspicion meter, probably more like a 3 out of 10 more than anything else. D Rose, that one is a 10 out of 10 for me in the sense of like, it's Chicago, another team that has needed a star ever since Michael Jordan retired, I guess the second time. And they needed somebody, and Derrick Rose was like lightning in a bottle coming from Chicago itself, the rose that grew from the concrete. I think they had like a 1% chance, maybe 1 or 2% chance. That one's 10 out of 10 suspicion-wise. The Pelicans getting AD. I guess this is at that time they were New Orleans Hornets, but the league was trying to sell that team, and the league actually owned the Hornets because at that time nobody was stepping in. I think George Shin, another guy who may be Asian but probably isn't, was owning that team, and they sold that team, and then David Stern was trying to move that team. It is very convenient if you were trying to sell that team to find a new owner, if you're able to walk in with this, great prospect. AD was a great prospect, man, and AD obviously is a great player. That one for me is like a 9 out of 10. They were a pretty bad team, so that's why it's not as suspicious as D Rose. Cavs getting Kyrie after LeBron left, pretty suspicious, but the Cavs were also pretty garbage that year. Obviously, they went from like a 60-win team to like a 20-win team. That's probably like a 5 out of 10. Wiggins, that was the year that LeBron went back to Cleveland, but that Cavs team was pretty bad. Wiggins ultimately never plays for the Cavs because he gets traded for Kevin Love before he even gets a chance to. That one is a little suspicious, but I'll give that probably I don't know. It's just Andrew Wiggins. I think in retrospect, it didn't really change the league. So I'll probably give that like a 3. Zion's really interesting to me because they had to save the Pelicans again. And that was a chance where, maybe you could potentially revive that franchise. It has not turned out that way for the Pels, but maybe I'll give that like a 4. That's not that suspicious. Wemby is a little suspicious because the Spurs, even though I think they had like at best like maybe like a 14-15% chance at it, they were talking about Wemby coming to San Antonio like it was a given for like a full year, to the point where like Wemby played for like Tony Parker's teams in Europe. And you're like, oh, the Spurs connection. Like every Spurs person was somehow absolutely convinced that they were going to win the pick, and they do win the pick. And now San Antonio's on the brink of potentially stacking together number 2 pick, which they could turn into Giannis maybe. But Giannis, Wemby, and De'Aaron Fox, that's a crazy combo. And then Cooper Flagg, say what you will, but this might be the ultimate bailout after the team ends up punting on Luka for the next 5-6 years. So, yeah, pretty interesting, man. Freeber says they could all be gone at 9. I mean, somebody will be there at 9. Like, like one of them will be there at 9, and, you could be happy. I'm assuming they means one of the 3 centers potentially that the Raptors could be in for. But you never know, man. Maybe the Raptors even trade this pick. You never know. All these disgruntled stars available, it's not off the table necessarily. We got LeBron with just laughing emojis. Uh-oh. What does the king mean when he tweets like this, man? Oh, man, LeBron found a way to get on First Take. I can't believe it, man. Well, let us know, honestly. Let us know what you thought of, best time to eat your feelings, bro. Honestly, I'm pretty hungry. We have talked here for an hour and a half, and we've commiserated, we've calmed down, we've looked at the prospects, and ultimately, there's nothing left to do. Raptors got the 9th pick. We start that process of identifying who could be good fits, who could potentially be available, maybe look at potential trades, and we'll talk to a couple more reporters. And, it's a month until the draft. We're going to stay locked in. If it's the 9th pick, then we fight on that 9th pick. And that's where we're at right now. So thanks, everyone, for listening. Big thanks to Hong Shing for hosting us here, giving us the private room as always. Check out Hong Shing here at Bay and Bloor, of course, iconic venue. Bay and Bloor, I mean... Okay, it's between Bay and fine. It's between Bay and University, man. Just walk on Dundas between Bay and University, man. God damn, it's not a long walk. Oh, what did I say? Bay and Bloor? Oh, my bad. Yeah, Dundas. But yeah, this ain't Bay Bloor Radio. My bad. Big thanks to Jerome Chang for setting this whole thing up. Big thanks to Alex Wong, who is, I believe, missing parts of Monday Night Raw as we elongate this episode. Huge thanks to Libaan Osman, of course. Seriously, super proud of Libaan, and obviously Libaan is a great reporter, and especially from a Canadian basketball perspective, you got to check out his account, but also his work at the Toronto Star, and also his podcast, the Canadian Basketball Show. And that's it. Thanks everyone for listening. Let us know who you want with the 9th overall pick. And this has been the Hello and Welcome podcast presented by Betway. I'm gonna eat these wings now. Number one. All right, number one. Let's go. Not us.